This is MJ. I'm an author, I'm an artist, I'm an analyzer. Welcome to my fully operational analysis of Star Wars The Mandalorian, Chapter 12, which is Season 2, Episode 4, The Siege. This episode was written by Jon Favreau and directed by Carl Weathers, who, if you don't know, is the guy who plays Greef Karga. He's also a big, famous, superstar from the 80s, and it's about all I know about him. I think I've seen him in a thing or two, but, not like Predator, maybe, because there were a bunch of heavy hitters in that one back in the day. But I have to wonder, is The Mandalorian trying to make midichlorians great again? And how much are they linking to the sequel trilogy and building up to, the creation of Snoke, or the, Moff Gideon being involved with the creation of host bodies or whatever for the Emperor? Because that's sure what it looks like. It could be something else, of course. It's vague. It's left vague. And, gosh, I don't know. I'm wondering about that. And then also, at the very end, I think those were all Death Troopers, but they almost look like Vader's, which I know the Death Troopers, they have Vader's belt. If you look at his, belt buckle type thing, they have that, for whatever reason. But I couldn't quite tell if those were just genetically engineered bunch of, Death Troopers, or if they were, mini Vaders of some sort, and I don't know if they got enough Force juice out of the child's blood to, make people Force sensitive or something. And Moff Gideon's planning on sending those guys against Din, but I think it's probably more likely that they're just, standard Death Troopers. And I guess I knew that they were genetically modified, but I think that was just in lore books and things like that. It's never been shown, and that's sure what it looks like at the end scene there on his whatever that was. Was that a regular? I don't think it was a regular Star Destroyer. I think it was something special. Anyway, I need to take a break real quick, think about this a little more before I talk about the episode as a whole, but those are just my quick overall thoughts. I really like the episode, except I had a couple problems with maybe pacing, and I'll get to that in a minute. So my biggest issue was actually with something that I just didn't catch. I don't know how it was that I didn't catch it, but whatever. I didn't realize Mando told the others, or Din told the others, that he was going to go get the child, and Cara actually suggested that he use his jetpack to, or did she say rocket pack? Anyway, it doesn't matter. He used his Rising Phoenix to go get it on her suggestion, and he went to go rescue the child, but that also put him in the Razor Crest so that they could take care of the ties, or he could take care of the ties when they ended up coming out, and so that issue is set aside. So it got me thinking about other things. And I don't just want to do a praise fest of the show. I want to point out little bad things. But, understand, it was really good. I'm really enjoying it. But I'm going to try to point out a couple negative things, and then I want to do some conjecture for a few minutes, and then I got to go. So I find it curious that the Mithril was taken in by Greef and used. Of course, the excuse is that he was working for him before, and then, he became a criminal, and so Greef put the bounty out on him, but now he's using him. I kind of feel like it's just an excuse to reuse the costume, reuse the character, and it kind of took away, people talk a lot about different things making the Star Wars universe feel a little smaller, and that, in a weird way, kind of makes it feel smaller to me, so I didn't like that. As far as the pacing is concerned, I actually think it was fine. I really was thrown, and I didn't rewatch the whole thing, so I can't really say, how I feel about it now. But originally, when I watched it and I noticed that Din had taken off, and I just didn't understand where he was going or what he was doing, except I thought, well, I guess he's going after the child, right? I mean, if they're all fighting their way out, he must be going for the child. I don't know, I disliked not having him in those action scenes while they're trying to escape from the Imperial base. And, I don't need, Mando action all the time or anything like that, but, it is cool. And I am here because it's the Mandalorian, not because it's the Marshal and the businessman, governor, mayor. I don't know what to call Greef now. I don't really know what position he's filling. But anyway, that's, not what I'm here for. So that was kind of odd. But ultimately, I think, it was fine. It is fine. I don't dislike it because they were a little bit more involved in the action while Din was gone. But it just felt odd to me. That's probably it for my nitpicks, honestly. And they were small, so overall, I really liked the episode. I thought it was great. Some of the stuff I like about it, as I've been thinking about it more throughout the day while I've been waiting to record this, is I do like how the sequels, the prequels, the original trilogy, Clone Wars are all being brought together. You know, Dr. Pershing has a symbol on him from Kamino, from the Kamino cloners, and maybe we saw that in Attack of the Clones, but I think it was definitely featured in Clone Wars, you know, because we get to spend so much time on Kamino and get more exposed to them. So, like, that's pretty interesting, and it's interesting to think the Kaminos were pretty mercenary, so it's kind of no wonder they fell in with the, fascist dictatorship that is the Empire. But, they went along, they rolled into the Empire and into their process, it seems, or at least, a lot of their technology was taken. Of course, there's no Kaminoans in use. It's, Dr. Pershing and these other, more humanoid scientists. So maybe the technology was taken from the Kaminoans, I don't know. But it is interesting. And I do like the idea that you've got the cloners from Kamino, you've got the midichlorians, the level of M in the child's blood was insufficient, being brought back in. That's super interesting. I really like that. I kind of want to bring in some stuff that George Lucas recently, there were excerpts of a book that's being released soon-ish, I guess. I heard about on Thor Skywalker's videos and also Eckhart's Ladder. But they were talking about excerpts from this book, different things that George Lucas said about midichlorians. They are like mitochondria. They're in different people's blood, or, whatever. There's a relation there. And Lucas really wanted to explore that. So it almost feels like the understanding that Favreau is working with here of midichlorians, and maybe it's informed by Filoni, who knows, is very much in line with what Lucas was saying, that they're symbiotes with humans, or with all beings, all sentients, or probably all beings, actually. So they're symbiotes with every being in the universe, and they, use the midichlorians to communicate, and that's a base point. And, what I'm gathering from the inclusion of the test tube people, which the concept art for them it's super vague. It's basically just silhouettes that are slightly shaded, but there's the features are very obscured. Well, I went back and I looked at the video, or I rewatched that section of the episode, and if you look really closely, it looks like, I think one of them is it looks half like a skeletal Ian McDiarmid, which you could say kind of looks like a Snoke, and the other half of it is blown up, the body's just inflated, and it's got edema or swelling. It's got a ton of swelling and stuff, and it's really gross. But I could see maybe Snoke kind of looks like a skeletal, deformed Ian McDiarmid, who's Palpatine, of course. I could see that. So, but that's not necessarily where they're going. It could be. But I like how they're approaching that place. By one, keeping it vague. By two, just dropping little hints, and we can see where it goes from there. But I don't know. I think it's super interesting. I think it's pretty clear that if this is 5 years or so after Return of the Jedi, it would make sense that it's the Emperor, and that if his body is alive somewhere, or his spirit is trapped somewhere and it's waiting to come into the mortal realm, or whatever, that it very well could be directing and influencing people to do this stuff, this experimentation, to bring up this, use this, Sith dark magic stuff, or dark science, or whatever the heck it was they said in Episode 9, to create a vessel for his body to fill. I think it's neat that they're approaching it this way. I like that Din and the story of the Mandalorian just touches on the edge of it, and I hope that they kill Moff Gideon and this goes off somewhere else, deeper into space, into the wherever the First Order was hiding or whatever. I'd be very pleased with that. Or they don't have to kill him. They just have to get the child safe. Well, they'd probably have to kill Gideon to keep the child safe. I don't know for sure, but whatever. I'm interested in where this is going. It feels very cool, very interesting. And like I said, I don't want it to eclipse the rest of the show, and for this to just become a sequel trilogy thing. But there was a lot of scuttlebutt about The Mandalorian originally, that it was going to be about sort of the rising up of the First Order, or the kind of the building blocks of the First Order. And I mean, Snoke supposedly raised the First Order, so if this show deals with the creation of Snoke, then that would make sense. And I was going to complain about his age. We don't know how old he is. In the Kylo Ren comic, he's said to be hundreds of years old, though. But then again, they did artificially change the aging of Jango Fett's clones to put them in the clone army. So, it's possible that accelerated. And another thing, the tanks of these gross clones who had died or whatever remind me of the Snokes in the jars in Episode 9. So that's kind of neat. One last thing, Dr. Pershing was talking about the child's blood. He didn't get a big enough sample because he didn't want to kill the child. And of course you wouldn't, because it's this constant, if your blood circulates and you get new blood all the time, because that's the way the circulatory system works, then I guess people who have the Force, who have a certain amount of, midichlorians in the Star Wars universe would probably be generated again and again and again by the same being. So over a long enough time, you could just keep pulling blood from the same being, and they would keep producing the midichlorians in their blood, and then you could artificially harvest them and concentrate. Oh, that's interesting. It's an interesting idea. If they'd had the child for long enough, they could have just kept pulling more and more and more blood from him over time, and I would imagine that it wouldn't decrease the amount of midichlorians, although the Force and the midichlorians could work against the person doing that, harvesting the blood, and cause it to stop. But I don't know that it actually does that. I don't know if that's how the Force works. Anyway, that's super interesting to me. I had like a whole point I was going to go off on, but I don't remember it now because I got so distracted by that point. I'm interested to see where this goes. I think it's cool. I think it's exciting. I think it's an interesting tangent or way to examine this. And gosh, I'm really excited for those Death Troopers in the next episode. I really hope there's something special, because they were there and then they weren't in Episode 8. I don't really know what happened. Stormtroopers were waiting for them at the lava cave, or when they came to the lava flats at the end of 8, even though they were pinned down by Death Troopers and Stormtroopers in Episode 7. Or Chapter 7. So, anyway, I'm going to end it there. I really like this. If you like what I have to say here about this, you can check out the rest of my Mandalorian and other Star Wars content coverage analysis over on mjmunoz.com/FO for fully operational, because this is my fully operational Star Wars analysis after all. And you can also just check out mjmunoz.com for other podcasts. I have other analyses I like to call them. I like to be pretentious, pretend I'm not a podcaster. Anyway, and you can check out some of my artwork, some of my stories. I've got poetry. I've got lots of stuff over on mjmunoz.com, and I would appreciate you checking it out, liking, sharing, all that good stuff to help me. Actually, I have a spiel. I have a spiel that I wrote down, and I'm gonna read it to you because I wrote it. Actually, it was at the beginning of the episode. No, it wasn't. It was supposed to be. Anyway, here it is. If you've stuck around after all this, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and check out mjmunoz.com/FO, and you'll find this episode. You can find notes on it. You can find lots of screen grabs of the concept art before they're officially released on StarWars.com. You can find links to other stuff to subscribe and whatnot. So don't forget to do that. And you can also like, share, and comment to help me grow. I'd really appreciate that. And until next time, folks, take care.